if you are in pursuit of something, you position yourself to be around the right circles of people, luck will come to you. You will attract luck.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Spark Seekers podcast, the show where we talk to interesting people about finding their spark, cultivating their spark, and living the life of their dreams. I'm really excited about today's episode. We have a good friend of mine, Liza Yu. She is an entrepreneur, an investor, speaker, host of an amazing podcast called The DAO Factor. She's a DJ. The list goes on and on, so we'll have plenty to talk about today. Really excited to have you.
So excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I know you're busy. You just got published in LA Weekly, so congrats on that.
Yeah, that was today, so that came as a surprise.
Yeah, thank you for making time in your schedule. I know you got a bunch of events after this.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and so you are passionate about everything Web3, and we'll get into that, and then particularly empowering women in the space, right?
Yeah, well, I've been in crypto since 2017. So my story is I got into crypto. I took rental payments in Ethereum. And as a landlord, that was a great decision. And since then have invested and advised over a dozen early stage Web3 projects, NFT projects and different, tokens and whatnot. So it's been really exciting to understand just like the power of the technology. And we can go deeper into that. But for me, it's been this journey of just diving head in and going full crypto, to say the least.
Absolutely. And when I met you, I knew very quickly Liza has a spark, and she's chasing that spark.
Thank you.
So yeah, of course. I want to get into a little background about yourself and how that ties into, we've had the conversation about the spark, right? The enthusiasm to live for the sake of living, what wakes you up, what gets you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
So how does that, let's talk about that first, and then we can dive into some of the other exciting things that are going on.
I think what wakes me up every day is curiosity.
Yeah.
I just have such a natural curiosity for life and for knowledge. Like I'm constantly learning. I feel like if I learn something new, I had a great day. I'm also very active. So of course, I want to move my body and I want to exercise my mind. So it's just from head to toe, right? Being able to feel like I'm truly contributing value to society. And, I love education. I love teaching people. That's why I run a class, for women called Queens of Crypto. It teaches women all about crypto and NFTs. And I also have a podcast called The DAO Factor that educates people about DAOs, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. And I'm just really passionate about moving technology forward. I like to say that I'm really passionate about music, food, and technology. As a DJ or aspiring DJ, I really enjoy putting music together, putting tracks together, writing songs. And then I love food. So, who doesn't love food? And tech, like technology I've been in tech my entire career. I haven't wavered, from my early Microsoft days, to early mobile days to now. We're entering a new season of the internet, which is super exciting. Like this is Web3. This is this like iteration 3 of the internet. And this time we can get it right. We can do it better. And so that's what really motivates me and excites me every day.
Amazing. So how did you get into the tech world? What inspired you? Because I think it seems like that is a commonality amongst all of your little mini sparks is the passion for tech, right?
Yes, right? Because tech touches music. It touches, all the different versions of the internet. I guess it can touch food as well, hopefully soon. But, for me, it's just something I've been fascinated about. And honestly, I started my career as an intern at Microsoft. So I was just given this opportunity. It was part of this special program. 13 people were selected across the country to do a co-op program. So it actually wasn't a summer internship. It was a 6-month co-op. So I actually, had to tell my school, hey, I'm doing this co-op for 6 months during my senior year of college. And then I, did the co-op. And then I came back, took my last 2 credits in summer school, and then I had a full-time job waiting for me at the end of this program, which was really incredible because it was actually, during that time, it wasn't it wasn't very easy to get jobs during those years, because, you know, it was just kind of a volatile time.
Right.
In Web2. And so for me, I felt really lucky that I was at the right place at the right time. I was very enthusiastic about, you know, bringing value into whichever places, you know, and organizations that I joined. I think they saw that. And so they, you know, gave me an opportunity. And, you know, I was one of 3 women who were accepted into this program, this co-op. So, you know, just seeing that, you know, even early stage, right? I was a security analyst. It was my job to teach developers how to build secure code. And then I automated that job, then moved into Microsoft Research, where I managed a portfolio of over 1,000 research projects and applications. And that was just so much fun that I was given so much responsibility and autonomy early in my career. And so, you know, I've always kind of applied my knowledge with the lens of curiosity. And when you always feel like you're always learning, right? It's that mentality. It's like you're not always right. It's like there's always an evolution of knowledge and truth. And so how do you, you know, get ahead of it? How do you become an expert, right? You know, I became the go-to person for many things. And that's what got me, you know, kind of into these more advanced positions. That's what got me promoted, right? And then I did like go-to-market management for a consumer electronics company. Then I, you know, became a director of program management at an automotive tech company. And then I started my own company. So, you know, I've had this whole journey in tech, you know, both from being at a big tech startup or a big tech company to a, you know, growing startup to starting my own company. So that journey has just given me so much knowledge and skills, but it's really the common thread has always been the curiosity. Yeah.
And you mentioned with the co-op that you had at Microsoft, it was right place at the right time kind of thing.
Oh, of course.
I love that concept, right? Because right place at the right time it's not accidental and it's not luck. Or if it's luck, then luck is defined by preparation meets opportunity, right?
Oh, 100%, right? Luck, you know, is luck random, right? We talk about this where if you are in pursuit of something, you position yourself to be around the right circles of people, luck will come to you. You will attract luck. And so, you know, I kind of liken this to this energy, this kind of the feminine energy is like receiving and like being at the right place at the right time to receive that opportunity. But it's also important to nurture that opportunity, right? You're not just given a handout, right? You have to show up, you have to be present, right? You have to kind of keep the momentum going. And so for me, luck starts as a spark.
Yeah.
And then when you kind of fan the flame, you ignite the fire, it can swell into a larger light, right? And that luck can become your career. It can become your new profession. It can, you know, bring you into rooms that you never could have imagined. But it does start with that one single spark to ignite all of it.
Do you think at that time when you were in the right place at the right time, you realized what we just explained, that concept of what luck really is? Or were you just kind of a young person out in the world just following what seemed interesting at the moment?
I mean, I always feel lucky just, you know, as an immigrant.
Yeah.
You know, we made it to the United States and I was able to make a career here and to build, you know, a life that I want on my own terms. And that's a lot of people can't afford to do that or don't have the opportunities to get to that place. So I feel incredibly blessed to be living the American dream, but to also find my own voice. And I don't think it was an accident. I think it was being intentional about what I know and loved, and then showing up in the places with the people that I can be aligned with. I think it's really an alliance, and that's really a huge core value of Web3 is this sense of decentralization and collaboration. So, you know, in Web2, it was more like this selfie culture. It's all about me, right? Like, you know, a lot of personal brands were created. A lot of these, like, you know, influencer-driven economy was driven. But, you know, when we're shifting into this next season of growth in the new internet, it's all about collaboration, alignment, shared values.
Community.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So what, expound upon that. Let's start with what is a DAO? Let's get really fundamental.
Oh,
what is
sure.
DAO?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm here to talk about the DAO factor,
Yeah.
obviously. So, a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. And what that means is that it's decentralized, meaning there's no central authority. It's not controlled or ruled by like a CEO, a president, or a dictator. It truly is, owned by the collective. It's autonomous, meaning it doesn't have to answer to also the single authority, right? The collective, it's truly cooperated by one another, and it's autonomous, meaning once the decisions are made, you can, like, it's on the smart contract, so it can be automatically executed when people are, collectively voting and being part of this organization. And of course, the O stands for organization. It's a group of people that gather around a shared set of values, a shared set of, goals, and there's that unity that's created because they're gathering for some purpose. So the why is very important, right? It's not just like, oh, let's get together for the sake of, slapping a label on something. It really has to matter for people to join a DAO, right? So in my first season 1 of my podcast, we cover many different topics. So we have DAOs ranging from like fashion DAOs to education DAOs to sports DAOs to real estate DAOs, business related DAOs, DAOs that help with promoting a more diverse like art creators. We've got DAOs that we have a dating DAO, like a mingle DAO. So there's a whole variety of different DAO leaders that we will be interviewing intimately and just learning this whole industry together.
Yeah.
And so, the heart of not just DAOs, but Web3 and, the crypto community in general is community, right? Like we've seen that when there's a token launch, whether a DAO has its own native token or just, raises money, off of one of the major coins, it's so important that there is a fostering and a nurturing of that community. And we've seen, even with NFT projects, that when there is a lack of community and engagement, that token value just dies.
Yeah.
And, even if you have the best intentions, if you're not able to engage an audience and keep their attention, they're going to go elsewhere. And so having the really clear core values and the why is super important to initially attract people into a DAO and then to keep them engaged. And by empowering the members is probably one really great way of keeping them engaged, right? So the whole structure of the DAO is that you can, governance, right? People can vote. Everyone has a voice and a say. And so when people feel like they are co-contributors and co-owners, right? And the co-ownership is shown in the token, right? And is shown in the participation. There are proposals that are presented that each DAO member can vote on. Then it really feels like a democracy when people's voices are heard.
Nice. And so is a DAO, could it be, that's a broad description of a variety of things within Web3, right? So that could be a crypto coin project. It could be an NFT project, right?
Yes.
Is that the case? Okay.
Yeah, well, a DAO is more like an organization, and the DAO itself can either raise money with a token. It can also launch an NFT collection, right? So it's kind of the governing body. So for example, let's say you have an art NFT or a music NFT. Well, then a DAO is like the entire media company.
Gotcha.
That could house everything, right?
Who is owned by the collective?
Owned by the collective.
So how does the founder of a project be involved? Like, do they have more say? Do they have more voting power within the project?
So in a DAO, it's a flat organization, meaning, the whole point of it is decentralization. There's no single authority or CEO. However, there's always, you would need a champion or a core group of champions to initiate the DAO, right? And once you kind of get it off the ground, then the organization can be self-sustaining, it can be self-governing, and it can be autonomous. But of course, in the beginning stages, right, someone has to have a spark of an idea. So when you think about most of the leaders that I talk to of DAOs, they are they are the spark initiators. They're the ones that just like have an idea. Like there's this one guy who's creating a DAO to raise money to buy an NBA team, which is a really ambitious goal.
Yeah.
But he's already raised millions of dollars for this, and he just had this spark of an idea, right? It's like, well, I'm not playing in the NBA, I'm not managing the NBA, but if I get enough people together that have the same mission, that wants to co-own an NBA team, then we can all do it together.
Wow.
And there's that power in the collective.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you mentioned a key part of the success of any DAO is the engagement with the community, right?
Yes.
And so that makes me think about Web2 and social media and big tech platforms. How does that come into play, and how do the big tech companies of the Web2 era factor into the decentralization of the Web3 era, right? Because to engage with your community, I would expect that we're using Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, right?
Yes.
And so you're still reliant on non-decentralized autonomous entities to engage with your community. So what's your stance on that?
So I think what's really key is building that bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, right? In the beginning stages, Web 3 was kind of like fringe technology, very super early adopters, a ton of skeptics that were afraid to enter because they just didn't understand it. And so that's why I really focus on education, because you can't really fully be part of something that you don't understand, right? So, you know, now that there has been more education, there's a ton of resources, right? People can now start getting comfortable with the lingo of Web 3, but the technology of Web 2 is still existing because that was the era where social media apps were born.
Yeah.
So we don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, there's already such a rich pool of community and connections that have already been formed on Twitter, that have already been formed on Instagram, etc. Now, the difference between the Web 2 technology and Web 3 technology is the ownership of the data. So, for example, you use, Facebook, Google, Instagram, Telegram, Discord, etc. These are centralized systems where, when you post a video or a photo or a comment, who owns that data?
Big tech, the
they
platform
do.
that
the
you
platform
posted it
owns
to.
the data. They mine the data. They read through your tags, and that's how they retarget you, right? This is like the ad machine.
Yeah.
So they can make recommendations, right? Even what you see on your newsfeed. I mean, if you're like, oh, why do I keep seeing this type of content at the top? It's because the app has studied you and know your click behavior, your comment behavior. It knows, what colors you like, what musicians you like to listen to. It knows which friends you engage with most often. And based on all these signals, the algorithm will serve you ads and content that will get you to be the most engaged. So it's kind of like they're kind of serving to you like a monkey, right?
Yeah.
Now, in Web 3, here's a thought. What if you get to own your data? So when you post, when you create videos or content or write articles, what if you got paid for posting for your creativity? What if you got token rewards for that? What if you could track engagement, but yet you still own the content? It's still, you are the author, and you can choose to delete it if you want to, right?
Right.
So what if you could, create privacy? What if you could choose that if you write something that is only private to certain circles? So there's a lot of things that when you own your data, when you own your media, you can be autonomous and be the lord over your own information. That's self-sovereignty. Like we talk about this where, it's shifting from sovereignty, like centralized control and, sovereignty with central bank, big tech, you name it, to having self-sovereignty of your own I mean, decentralized finance, your own finances, all these decentralized applications, your own data. So it's almost like a mindset shift. It's a paradigm shift. Of course, like not everyone is ready for it. It's coming. The technology is there to support it. Of course, people have to adopt it for it to, really truly come into its full fruition and its full glory. But what I'm excited about is the technology is being built to support that. So maybe someday we'll have a decentralized Facebook or Twitter, but that's to be determined. We'll see.
Yeah, it's an interesting flip of capitalism, right? How do businesses capitalize on this shift and not just fall apart?
It's a different business model because it needs to be, first of all, it's a shifting of the mindset.
Yeah.
The how do big tech not lose out is a very zero-sum game mentality, right? Again, another ethos of Web3 is expansive. Everyone wins because you're creating more value. The pie gets bigger. It's not like, oh, you're switching the ownership of the pie. Okay, now the creators own more and the advertisers get less. It is, you have to approach Web3 with a mindset of expansion and kind of collaboration. So, for example, here's a clear example of how, I guess, like let's just pick on the music industry, right? Okay, so now there's like, music NFTs are becoming a thing. You have now, creators can drop NFTs and make more money on NFTs. Like Steve Aoki made more money on one single NFT drop than a 10-year music career combined and 6 albums combined. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? One decentralized NFT drop made him more money than a decade-long career. So now there's an opportunity for creators to actually make real money by directly connecting with their fan base. Now, you can see it as, oh, okay, and so some music labels are scared. They're like, oh, okay, they're cutting us out. People are going to self-publish, right? Because this whole theme of self-sovereignty. But guess what? The record labels could just step up their game, do what they're good at. What do they, if they're really good at promotion, marketing, and PR, they can still have co-ownership of that song or that album. Guess what? Because we're expanding the pie. We're expanding the audience, right? We have a growing population of people in this world. There's more listeners and there's more tech, right? Emerging markets are now getting connected to the internet. So why don't you think about global expansion and more listeners and bigger audience rather than trying to extract the artists and restrict them from directly engaging with their fans? So when you shift your mindset and have this abundance mentality rather than scarcity, everyone wins.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I imagine that's going to be hard for, the titans of industry to accept that it is an abundance mentality, but that's an interesting concept that like industry needs to accept that there is more out there and they're not losing out. They're getting more of a growing pie.
Well, this is what I say to all entrepreneurs. You either adapt or you die.
Yeah.
Same goes for the big titans, right? If you do not evolve with the shift of technology and culture, and you're just stuck in your own ways, and you're just trying to extract from everyone, you're going to lose your customers, you're going to lose your audience. So, yeah, it's just natural selection.
100%. Scarcity mindset that translates to everything, personal growth, business, whatever it may be. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
100%.
Yeah. Nice. So what DAO excites you the most right now? I'm assuming it might be one that you've either built or invested in.
Well, okay, there's so many.
It could be many, yeah.
There's so many. Well, I'm part of Golden DAO, which is AAPI empowerment. So, we focus on giving Asian American professionals and Pacific Islanders a voice and a chance to just rally and to be authentically themselves, right? And I think there, with the rise of Asian hate, that's been, so the project is, really geared towards awareness, activism, and action, right? Not just like sitting around talking about the problems, but how do we bring more awareness? How do we rally people, and how do we take action? So that one's really awesome. I'm in the queue, probably season 2, I'll be talking to Climate DAO. So of course, we're there's a climate crisis, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
And so how do we collectively bring the right people together to come up with solutions together, right? Let's not try to come up with these solutions in a silo. Let's not come up with climate solutions that only serve the top 10%, right? Which we have seen. A lot of solutions are just serving the elite, the people that can afford it.
Yeah.
How do we create climate solutions that is for all of humanity? And then there's just so many really interesting DAOs out there, that, support, sustainable manufacturing practices. I talked to, a fashion DAO and the C3 Collective. They're all trying to empower creators, but also empower creators in the fashion industry so that they can, have sustainable, chances, access to sustainable, manufacturing. But you're not going to be able to be privy to these new things unless you're part of a community and you can learn and grow with each other.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot. There's the education. There's the University DAO that's trying to decentralize education, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Because think about colleges. These private institutions make a lot of money, and guess what? A lot of our generation is in debt because they're still paying back student loans, and they don't care. They already made the money. Now you're paying interest on that loan. And so what if we flip the script? What if you were paid to get an education? What if you received tokens for your education and you had a job waiting for you? What if you were able to learn a certain skill set that's actually relevant to your passions, right? You're not just learning for the sake of learning and now you're in a mountain of debt, but you can literally learn a course, learn a skill, and immediately get educated. I'm an advisor for Infinity EDU, which is powered by brands. And what they do is they create jobs, whether it's like a software engineer or content marketing, whatever it is. And the brand will pay for your education. And then there's a job waiting for you at the end of the queue. Like, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
Right? That you're not just getting educated and then getting lost in the sea. We're in a recession right now. There's a shortage of jobs. So when you're actually trained with the skills that business or that brand requires, you're going to have a higher likelihood of landing that job and being successful at that job because you've already been trained. That cuts the cost down for the companies as well, because the company doesn't have to spend weeks or months training this person. It's like they've already been educated and trained. They're ready to go. They're ready to code. They're ready to get the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How quickly do you think we're going to see like all of these industries? All industries are vulnerable, right? We just picked on the music industry. We're talking about education. How do you have a timeline in that you see 5-10 years when everything has changed?
Well, everything is already changing.
Right. To the point where there is no more college as we know it today. Let's use this as an example, right?
Okay.
Like no one goes to, I went to University of Florida. That doesn't exist. Or maybe it exists in a digital form and because they've adapted. But let's just use that as an example because everything is changing.
I think it's going to be a multi-channel type of education system where there'll be both online and offline experiences based on the job that needs to be done and based on the education structure that the learner gets to choose. It's almost like modular education, right? It's like, do you want to learn this skill online or in person? There should be literally an option to choose one or the other. And there could be certain certification programs that allow you to have that hybrid education. I don't think we're going to just, again, not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater again, right?
Because there's something valuable to going to college and being surrounded by young people your age, right?
I mean, that, again, it goes back to the abundance mentality. It's like, it's not one or the other, but how can the two collaborate? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to serve the student. You're trying to educate the student so that they can become, full functioning, contributors of society and maybe future inventor, entrepreneur, etc. But, when that student, can show up and choose this is the path, this is what I want to learn. And it's just expanding the options for education, right?
Yeah.
I can get a decentralized education. I can get tokens and credit. I can get paid to learn. Don't you think people would stay in school? I bet you people would get their diplomas. They would finish high school and college if you told them you would get paid and get tokens for it.
Yep.
They would. They would, because there's a reward. What is the reward, right? I mean, not to overplay the rewards incentive structure, but I mean, this is human psychology.
Yeah.
You know, what is the incentive? Like, what is in it for people? And if they can, you know, feel a sense of accomplishment and see that reward, they're going to want to give back. They're going to want to contribute, right? And so again, it's going to be a long road, you know, for that, you know, new world. But I think both worlds can exist in parallel. Gotcha.
And then you also mentioned when we talk about these different DAOs and the projects, there seems to be a common theme in empowerment, right? And helping make the world a better place. So I think that's interesting when it comes to the Spark, especially yours, right? You're driven by your curiosity, whether that's technology or whatever form that may take, of human psychology. But you know, I get the sense that a lot of it is driven also by making the world a better place and helping other people. So how do you know, what, I'm sure you think about this, right?
Like, definitely. Well, you know, I'm getting into VC, investing in early stage Web3 projects and companies. And, you know, the whole goal is to create value in the world. Being able to fund the future is super fun and exciting. Mm-hmm. But, you know, my end game is like, you know, when I'm like 60, I'll probably give away like 90% of my wealth and really use it towards good causes. Like, I just think that there could be a more efficient allocation of capital and resources if it's being allocated to projects that serve humanity. And so, you know, I'm a partner at 99 VC, which is a fund that, you know, invests in projects that serve the 99%, because we want to invest in projects that impacts the majority of the world. We're not here to just serve the elite, right? Mm-hmm. And so that is, to me, is important, to find kind of the sparks of inspiration and to invest in those sparks as well. But yeah, no, that to me is so key and so important to like be grounded in that.
Yeah, and aligning everything in your life, right? Like, so on a previous episode, we talked about the concept of Ikigai. Are you familiar with that?
I love Ikigai. I actually teach that as my first class. I've taught 3 business cohorts. So what I do is I teach. I also do a lot of coaching and speaking. Mm-hmm. But I teach a cohort of CEOs and business owners in San Diego and also in Los Angeles. So I'm very booked right now. I probably have like 50 entrepreneurs that I'm coaching at this very moment.
Yeah.
And Ikigai is something I teach in the first lesson, because it's so important to know I would love for you to explain it to the audience, and then I would love to respond.
Yeah, well, I'll try my best, and then you'll follow up with the right answer. But Ikigai is the alignment of the different compartments of your life, and it's sort of like a Venn diagram of 4 circles, right? So if it brings you joy, it brings you income, it helps the world, and I forget what the 4th one is, but somewhere in the middle is your Ikigai, right?
Yes.
And that's like your purpose.
Yeah, it's also what you're good at.
What you're good at. That's
the
one I
4
was
quadrants
missing.
of the circle is what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can make money doing. And it's because like some people might like something, they might love something, but they're not good at it, mm-hmm. right? So that's like off the chart.
Right.
But it has to be a marriage of something you just so passionate, love to do. You're either naturally good at, or you were trained and educated or practiced or apprenticed your way into getting good at something. Mm-hmm. And then it has to be like practical and tangible, right? Like you can actually make money from it. Because if you're not making money from it, then you're just kind of, you can do a public service. There are nonprofits out there. But the Ikigai, structure is that you combine all of that, plus it's making an impact in the world. It's something the world actually needs, then you're truly contributing to society with your passion. You're making, a stream of income, and you're good at it, right? You're in your zone, like you're in your element, and that's like the bullseye in the middle of the circle.
Flow state.
Flow state.
Yeah. So obviously you understand this fully and you teach it to others. How do you start the process of finding that Ikigai, right? Is there a simple answer to that?
Yes.
Do you focus on one of the 4 quadrants first? How does that work?
Ooh. It must start with what you love.
Yeah.
It has to be that spark, that passion. If you're not passionate about something, it's going to feel like work. It's, you're going to just drag your feet every day. You're going to run out of steam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the first thing, right? Find what you're passionate about. What is your spark? Find your why. And then get good at it, right? If you're passionate about podcasting or music or writing or acting, whatever it is, start practicing the craft. Start getting in the rooms with people who are better than you. Start having conversations. Start learning. Start showing up and start making some mistakes, right? Because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
So you start with what you love, then really start to build your craft so that you're actually really good at it. And then test the market. See if, does the market want this? Can you make money from it, right? Again, the market is the only thing that will never lie to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your significant other will lie to you. Your boss will lie to you. Your friends will lie to you. Even your mom and your dad will lie to you, right?
Because they're biased.
And especially your siblings. But who will not ever lie to you? The market. If they want you, they will buy you. If they want you, they will engage with you. They will follow you. They will literally email you and reach out to you, right? They will hunt you down if they like you, if they want you. So you can test, can you sell the thing, your passion, that you've now been good at it. Okay, now does the market believe you're good enough at it that they're able to place value in it?
Mm-hmm.
And now in the new economy, are they going to be able to pay $1 for it, or are they going to pay you in tokens for it? So now you've introduced a new medium of exchange, which is digital money, cryptocurrencies. That includes like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. So now you have, are people willing to pay you money for it, or are they willing to pay you crypto for it? And then, of course, the most important thing out of the entire pie, the entire circle is it making an impact in this world?
Mm-hmm.
Is this making the world a better place? Because if it's not, then you're just being like, a consumer of society. You're just being a leech of society, right? Can you take everything that you love and are good at and have, created something of value that other people value? Can you validate that? That's what the world needs and wants. And timing is important too, right? You might build something that the world might need later, but they're just not ready for it because maybe the infrastructure wasn't built yet, right? Maybe the tech is not built yet. And it's like just being in the right moment, in the right place is so important.
Yeah. Going back to preparation meets opportunity.
That's right.
It may not be ready for you yet, but, there's a lot of shelf ideas. I like to talk about those, the things that you have a feeling, your instinct tells you that this is important to work on, but it just might not be ready for the world, or you might not be ready for it yet.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sometimes you have to get back in the ring.
Yeah.
You got to get more coaching. You got to work out your mind and your body and your soul and your spirit to get ready for that.
Have you had any of those kind of shelf projects that maybe?
Oh,
yeah,
many.
Yeah,
many. So I'm a futurist and technologist. So I'm always like 5 years ahead.
Sure.
So I was working in mobile tech since like 2007. I was in crypto in 2017. It's always like the things that are early. Like, so I was former founder of Office Book, the Airbnb for offices.
Mm-hmm.
We, matched high growth startups with commercial real estate spaces. So, kind of was able to expand that. We became profitable in 6 months. I moved the business to LA. Then I started doing not just office space, but also desk space and event space. And now I just host a lot of really awesome events because it's really fun.
Yeah.
So it's like I was able to combine the skill with things I love and to marrying the passion. It's what the world needs, is bringing people together, and we can make money off of it. So I think that definitely has been a little side Ikigai hustle. But what's really great with that is, you know, once you find kind of your why and what really shapes you, you can be brought into a different direction. So, you know, with Office Book, as I, you know, did Office Book, I was able to connect the dots in a lot of ways.
Gotcha. And where is that right now?
Well, right now, that's still operating passively, right? If people need space, great. You can just come talk to me, and I can find you like your perfect office. But I've really shifted gears into going full crypto and investing and advising, you know, top Web3 projects. But what I was going with Office Book is that 5 years ago, I wanted to tokenize real estate. I wanted to, you know, create this token for, you know, fractional ownership of commercial real estate. Now, that was too early.
Yeah.
Way too early. All right. With the unstable regulations, I was like, should I do an ICO? Like, did I miss that wave? But, you know, I ended up launching it as a marketplace, two-sided marketplace, matching office supply and demand. But, you know, if I were to do that now, people are like, why don't you just do that now? Well, you know, I've shifted gears already.
Sure.
You know, it's like there's a sense of momentum, right? When you start a project, and if that momentum dies, and it's because of COVID that Office Book completely paused, and to no fault to anyone, right? I just shifted gears. So I'm just going a new direction now.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you handle choosing what to work on when you could be doing everything? Right? Like there's like with a brain like yours, it's always firing. The world is just a screen of opportunities just floating down, and you have to choose which one you pursue because you can't do everything, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, Warren Buffett recommended, you know, write the 5 things that you're most passionate about. And if it's not on that list, everything beyond that you just toss.
Yeah, cross it off and just
cross
forget.
it off.
Yeah, elimination.
So what is the 5 things? I want to know what your 5 things are, and I'm happy to share what mine are.
Yeah, it's a good question. I should do that exercise. What book was that in? The Third Door. Have you read that one?
I haven't.
No?
Okay.
Great book.
Adding it to my list.
Yeah.
Audio version.
Yeah, so, and he was, the Cliff Notes version is the author of this book was, you know, trying to speak to all these incredible people and learn, instead of having to go to school to learn what you're supposed to learn, he wanted to learn it directly from the people who succeeded at the highest level in their verticals. And so he was trying to hunt down Warren Buffett to talk to him, and he came across the method you just talked about. So I've been meaning to do that exercise, but I'll try it right now. What's important is, so I like to think that I'm a creator, whether that's products or content. Those are, for me, product and content are probably the 2 most explicit, obvious ways that I like to create. And so as that ties into what I'm doing right now, Popple, of course, right? Changing the way people connect. You talk about Ikigai, right? Like, is it something I'm good at? Yes. Creating products and marketing them to people. Is it something I enjoy? Hell yeah. Does it bring money? It certainly does. And does it make the world a better place? It does.
Absolutely.
Right? We're connecting people. So that the focus on that is probably first and foremost. Creation, I think, dominates that entire top list of 4. So things like this, just talking to other people like yourself who are just have this fervor for life and want to explore every nook and cranny that this world has to offer, whether it be physical or metaphorical. And then after that, I mean, there's a lot of things I want to spend more time doing: surfing, yoga, exercise, right? And some of those start to fall down. I want to do, you know, golf more, but they don't fit within that top 3 for me. And so those are the kinds of ones that I've crossed off the list, and I'm sure I'll come back to. But for me, it's creation right now through business and content is really, I think, my priorities.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, like the top 3, we'll just keep it simple. I am super passionate about crypto, obviously, and tech. So we're moving tech forward into a new era. And that's something that is top of my list. And so, I was that crazy girl 5 years ago talking about crypto. Still that crazy girl 5 years later talking about crypto.
Yeah, but not so crazy anymore because
not
there's
so
a lot
crazy.
more people talking about it.
Exactly. So it's like, it kind of feels good to be like,
I told you so, right?
I feel like a sense of joy that I feel validated that I was not crazy after all. And then, of course, that includes, bringing more education into the world, right? So things like the DAO Factor, the podcast, me as an advisor for Infinity EDU, educating more people through Queens of Crypto, right? Empowering women is definitely on my list because, I'm a woman, I'm a minority, I'm an immigrant, and, I was never handed opportunities. I had to go and get it. I had to educate myself. And so if I'm able to help accelerate that learning curve for someone else, that gives me a lot of joy. And music. I love music. It was my childhood dream to be a DJ when I was 17 years old.
Who inspired you?
I just love music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just,
But specifically to be a DJ?
Yes, I just wanted to I used to do like mixtapes, and I used to, put songs together for my sisters.
Yeah.
And I would, burn CDs and like have different compilations, and you can only fit so much.
Right. So you had to be selective.
I had to be very curated and selective with my music choices. And then a lot of my friends would be like, I really like your mixes. Like, you have great taste in music. I'm like, I know. So my style is very much like, I focus on the melody and the beats combined. And so, I love getting people together. So, curating an experience has to have music, right?
100%.
It depends. Like, is it a classy dinner? Are you going to put on some like jazz music, some classy music?
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. Is it going to be like a dance party where you're doing like, EDM, or is it going to be like more of a low key? Is it going to be a slow jams kind of night? So music sets the mood. Music has also been such a healing agent for me, right? I think in times, if I've ever struggled with, just some down times, I just lay in bed and listen to music, and I feel instantly better. And it's to me, it's been my therapy, it's been my passion, it's been my go-to. And so I get to now, I'm learning how to DJ, and I've got my setup, and hopefully I'll DJ the next crypto party. But what's really exciting too is I'm an advisor. I'm a go-to-market strategist for a music platform called Music. We're putting music on the blockchain, and so we're going to you can turn your songs into NFTs, and they become metaverse property, which is incredible because I get to marry, like you said, the Ikigai, what I love, with what I'm good at. So I love music, I'm good at tech, I can make money doing it, I'm already making money doing it, and it's what the world needs. The world needs culture and music. Like, they need, and the artists need a better way to have self-sovereignty and ownership of their creative rights.
Yeah.
And so this whole platform powers all of that. So these are all the reasons why I just, these are all things I'm passionate about. And my fund, I get to have a lot of fun with my fund, because then I get to just invest in things that I love.
Yeah, I love that. You talked about women empowerment and being a minority. That's especially women in tech, women in STEM is a dilemma as old as time, or at least as technology has been around. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously you think about it more than most people. And how does Web3 play in? Because it seems like maybe that is the ultimate solution, or at least the best solution that we have so far, talking about, the ability to rally people into communities. Because I think it's been a problem for a long time. When you were at your internship at Microsoft, you were 3 women out of 13. Yeah. And that's probably pretty typical ratios for tech in general, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So how are we solving that, and what's being done? What do we need to do?
Sure. Well, I think that when you approach tech in a truly decentralized fashion, all the voices are heard and it's equally weighted and considered. And so, in the early days of crypto, we had undoxed characters where, like, let's say you have a little screen name, people didn't know your gender. You can contribute as whoever you want to be. You could even create an avatar with an ambiguous name if you wanted to. These days, I think there's better levels of trust when you are doxed and when you are
doxed.
Meaning publicly facing, like if they know your identity. But in the metaverse, you can show up genderless. You can show up as a cartoon. You can show up as any character. So there is now a shift in, all right, let's bring more voices into the fold. Let's have everyone have a voice. We have a long way to go, obviously. The same problems of Me Too still exist today, even in Web3. But it is more welcoming and more, it's less pervasive as it used to be, because I think like there's been so much media attention and there's been just, again, society is getting better at being inclusive and diverse, which makes me really happy. Now, when there's something new, what I've discovered is that like a lot of like men just like flooded the scene and like got into crypto like together like really quickly.
Yeah,
and
then, like a bro culture type of movement.
and then like the women were still observing, and then now they're entering, in greater numbers, and there's still a lot of work to be done. But I would say that a lot of women missed out on that first wave of wealth creation. So many Bitcoin billionaires were minted in that first stage of the tech boom. And so now, okay, are we going to continue sitting on the sidelines and observing? No, we're going to get in the game. That's what Queens of Crypto is all about. I teach women how to get in the game. I teach them 10, factors. We have a whole framework on how to choose the tokens and what are the 10 factors that determine the value and the volatility of a token. And then I also teach a class about NFTs that helps you find the project that's right for you, right? And so with these frameworks and these different factors, you can now make your own decision. You can now invest in your own terms and have that confidence. And it really starts with confidence. A lot of times people don't get into things because of fear. There's fear of the unknown, or there's fear of potentially losing money. And there's fear of like, well, I don't feel welcomed here because there's no one that looks like me. And so again, I'm not the type of person that sits on the sideline. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to be that torchbearer. I'm going to bring people with me.
Yeah, share that spark.
Exactly. Sharing the spark.
Excuse me. Yeah, you're obviously a master at sharing the spark, right? I have a call in 2 minutes.
Let's wrap up soon. Yeah.
Let's wrap up. Okay. So, Lisa, this has been amazing. Thank you for joining us. I think there's a lot that we didn't get to cover.
We could talk for hours.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But this was a really great, initial conversation. I love what you're doing. You're spreading the spark. You're creating sparks in people's lives. And yes, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you.